everybody. I promised that I would send some information about how to use a scope of work document. And so this is a quick video about how to use a scope of work document so that you do not lose money on every single project you do moving forward. So a scope of work document is a legally binding document. The important part of this is that it's an agreement not about the brief or the design of the project, but about the nitty-gritty of what happens when and who owes who what. So I'm going to walk you through just a terrible, terrible sample that I made using the template that I provided to you. Let me just see if I can cycle back into this. So as we move into this document, I want you to notice that I've used a dumb case study of a dog food company to write this. But at every stage, this is an agreement that's going to be workshopped between you and the client till you both agree. And you can hold each other responsible to the details of the project using this document. So we start with the project title. You would have a title for it, like Your Awesome Project, or the name of the campaign that you're working on. In this case, it could be something along the lines of Dog Food Rebranding 2024. You'd outline who is on your team, not the client's team, who's on your team. Who is responsible for this? Whose head's going to roll if this doesn't work out? And what the project start date is. The project start date is the first day you can start billing the client. You cannot bill them before this date. So the project start day is the day you are allowed to start working and billing. When you look at the business case and goals, this is slightly different than a brief. A brief tells you what the campaign should be in the future. The business case and goals is a reminder to everyone as to why we're doing this in the first place. It's not a business case for is the company a good idea? It's a business case for why they would engage you to do their rebranding work. So in this case, it's really important for us to remember that we are making the case for getting hired, not the case for the client having a business. Their business is not our business, but our business is. So we need to explain why are we even being hired. The project description is an open kind of concept around what the project is. If you were going to describe the project to your boss and say, we were just hired to, what would you write in this box? So in here, I've said that this rebranding project will involve the development of a new brand identity, the launch of the brand across digital and physical platforms, and the creation of cohesive brand assets aimed at building a strong emotional connection between pet owners and our dog food company. So that's just a description of the project that you could use to explain to somebody what the hell you did today at work. Okay, that's what you're working on. Then we get into project deliverables. Project deliverables for your client are not unlike the deliverables I've asked you to put together for Explore 84. Your deliverables are what are you going to hand over at the end of the day. You're not done till these things are in your client's hands. So in this case, just making it up, I've said that our team is going to do a new brand identity, and then I've defined it a little bit more and said it's a complete brand package, including logo, color palette, typography, and visual style. I've also said we're going to do things like a social media rebrand. So a launch of this new brand across all social media platforms. Or we're going to develop marketing campaign assets. We're going to create materials such as ads, banners, and promo content for online and offline campaigns. These are the deliverables. They would be the file titles that you would hand over to your client at the end. You're not done until these are done. Now, I want you to notice at no point is there creative direction in here, and at no point did I make a tactical plan. I did not say on Instagram or we will develop a out-of-home campaign for bus shelters. Nope, we have just said assets in this category. You're not ready to make the claim as to what you'll do. You just want to talk about what you'll deliver. The next one down is your acceptance criteria. This under acceptance criteria, you want to think really carefully around what would be acceptable. That doesn't mean you're going to shine them on with descriptions of how great it's going to be. You just want to describe what is an acceptable version of done. That's it. If you don't set this with your client, what happens is the client says, I just don't think we're done yet because I actually would like you to do this and this and this in addition. Or I just don't think we're done yet because I just need to make a couple more changes, or I've changed my mind about how I feel about it, or I've changed my mind about when it's due. So acceptance criteria is just the base level. C's get degrees, man, and I do here too. So the base level of acceptability, the all done, not all done and it was amazing, just all done. So for a new brand identity, it's acceptable if the new logo, color scheme, and typography align with the brand values and resonate with the target audience. We can say we did that. We can say we're done. Or the brand guidelines are comprehensive, clear, and include visual tone and usage instructions. We can say we did that, then we're done. I'll make this sample available, not that it's very good, but it gives you an idea of what acceptance criteria would be. But just a reminder, acceptance criteria is just what does done look like, not what does outstanding look like, or what promise are you making the client, or how incredible is it going to be if you use Instagram. Just what does done look like for each deliverable. Limitations are a bit different. Limitations are what has the client communicated to you that's not okay. These are no-go areas. These are areas that the client has told you no. So it could be something very stupid, and I've heard very stupid things, but things such as no pictures of ugly dogs, no words like furry or cute, no use of the color pink. It's got to be in French and English. These are the limitations they've placed upon you. You need to document them here so they don't come rocking into town with a new surprising set of limitations that you don't know anything about. And finally, what we're looking at is the assumptions that you have baked into this thing. These are the assumptions that you both share about what it looks like to do this kind of a project. So the design is approved by stakeholders after a minimum of 2 rounds of feedback, or the website has about 10 landing pages, or we're only going to use stock photography. So these are different than limitations. Limitations are things they've told you, we don't like doing that. We don't want to do that with you. And assumptions are things that you both share as an understanding of what's about to go down. I'm assuming it's cool if we make 10 landing pages is an important conversation. I'm assuming I have access to your existing brand documentation and image library. Let's get that straight and not find out later that you don't get access. I'm assuming we can use stock is an important conversation because you need to know whether or not you have access to their stock image library or you're able to buy more stock. Exclusions are slightly different than that. Exclusions are your no-go areas. You need to outline what you're not going to do. For example, you might want to outline that you're not going to make all of their social media for the next year. You're just going to give them samples. Or you're not going to do more than 3 rounds of changes for each deliverable. Or your team is not going to travel to locations beyond Calgary. Otherwise, what the client could do is say things like, hey, so we also want to shoot in Alaska, and we're assuming you've got that in the budget, right? Or, hey, we'd like to go back and make another round of changes. We know you did it 6 times, but let's make it another. You need to be clear or you're going to lose money. Finally, there's milestones, which I've spelled wrong. Milestones are the points in time where you owe something to them or they owe something to you. You need to get these down on paper because if your client starts getting wiggly and takes a little long to get you their revisions, or decides that their website launch should happen a little bit later or earlier, or decides that they're not going to get you that access to the photo library until a week past when you need, your whole timeline falls apart and all of your billables fall apart too. So once you get these things clear, and it'll require some back and forth, then it's easier for you to call them up on, say, January 1st and say, we have second round creative. You have 2 weeks to take a look at it, and we'll start doing revisions on January 15th. I want to really just point out, though, in all of these sections, these last assumptions, exclusions, and milestones, that at no point are you pitching creative. And if it's something that's just your job, you don't need to write it on the stake or on the scope of work. So yeah, we assume it'll come in on budget. Congratulations. If it doesn't, you suck and you shouldn't be doing this. Or yeah, a limitation is that you are going to do the job required and not a totally different job. Yeah, we know. Or it's not going to be about cats. Yeah, no kidding. Just don't do things you should get fired for, and don't write those down either. It makes you look dumb. Finally, at the very end, we have an agreement. So the client signs it like a PDF signature signs it, and you sign it, or whoever your boss is signs it. This is a legal document, and you're then able to use it to move forward. If your client starts getting snaky about this legal document, you're able to go back to them and say, that sounds like a great idea. I'm really excited to put that in play. Let me just go back to the scope of work and adjust so that we can make sure we have the time and budget to accommodate this new direction. Okay, practice that sentence over and over. That sounds like a great idea. I'm so excited to put this in play. Let me just go back to the scope of work and make sure we have the time and budget so we can accommodate this new direction. I've said it a million times, and every time the client has no choice but to say, yes, I see how you need additional budget or time for this new thing, or this way I've screwed up, or this change I've presented, and I understand that this changes our timeline. If you don't do this, and instead you just have an agreement that you haven't made sure they understand and they haven't made sure you understand about what done looks like and when everything's going to happen, it's your fault and you're going to lose money. So get on your scope of work. This is an important part of the project moving forward. Thanks, everybody.